Alrighty, great games at your table. I'm Jonathan Albin, and this is Nikos RPG, and today we are going to be talking about the 10 most iconic monsters from Dungeons & Dragons. Now, these are not necessarily in any particular order, except that I kind of build up. I try to represent the value each of these monsters will have to your games and your campaigns, and make them more useful to the way you might want to run your stories. Before we get started, make sure you go down below and like and follow, subscribe, push all the buttons so that the algorithm knows that you're part of our audience, and let's get started.
Absorbing damage is the name of the game. From the claws of monsters or the heat from a ball of flame, or strength in numbers is a roll of the dice.
Alright, Dungeons & Dragons has been around for 50 years, as I've been a game master for that entire time. And the monsters that players seem to want to engage with are the ones that are perhaps the most thrilling, the most dangerous, the most challenging. But today we're going to talk about those that are the most iconic. That is, they are the first things that pop into your mind when you think about Dungeons & Dragons. Perhaps I'll do more of these. If you like this kind of a show, make sure to let me know, and I'll do additional episodes of this, because there are literally thousands of monsters that could be included. And as a matter of fact, I've done a couple of episodes of 2-minute monsters, which I'll put a link to one of them here. And that is a way for you to see new monsters that are coming out that might be able to be used as well. But let's go after these top 10 to start with. You may have seen one of these little critters creeping around in your dungeons, because they are by far one of the most challenging early monsters. They are quintessentially a dungeon trap. They are a living being, a hazard that is designed to fit specifically into the classic 10-foot corridor, take up the entire space, and be kind of a challenging and interesting threat that your players have to work over. Additionally, as you can see in the comic image I'm using here, they are quite often slapstick and horror, a unique mix of absurdity and genuine danger. It devours your armor, your weapons, and of course, eventually the adventurers if they stay exposed to them for too long. And they are an original creation. They are actually born from the Dungeons & Dragons legacy, and therefore are held near and dear to players' hearts. The next also is in that same category. They are the Displacer Beasts. They are iconic because they are illusion in motion. They were one of the first creatures to take into account the concept of unreality, the idea of distorting their location by affecting the light around them. That makes them difficult to hit, and introduced the mechanic of missing an attack because of this displacement. Yet again, in the same fashion as the gelatinous cubes, they were a puzzle for new players to solve, and have been with the game throughout its entirety. And they've been involved in the game going all the way back, and are featured in miniatures, manuals, novels, and even in the Honor Among Thieves franchise film. The next among these, of course, is the owlbear. And the owlbear is absurd and beloved. It's silliness mixed with danger. And the owl fused with a bear is now one of the primary mascots of the game. It's a low to mid-level threat, but it shows up and remains dangerous throughout its duration. It is a wilderness menace with personality and a little bit of flair. Further, they are a cultural emblem. They are now found in plushies, t-shirts, games, and of course in the movie. Everyone loves themselves some owlbear. At the other end of the spectrum is one of the greatest terrors of the game, and that is the Tarrasque. It is a world ender. Many campaigns end at the teeth and claw of these monstrosities because they are a walking cataclysm. They are the final boss to end all final bosses. And of course, they are a game master's flex. Even if you don't ever use it, the fact that you've got one of these in your Adventure Hammer box really gives the players something to think about. Furthermore, they've been around since AD&D, and so they have editions spanning fame and respect among the players. Now the next, I cringe a bit at this one specifically because the vampires are classic horror, and somehow in the world of Dungeons and Dragons through Castle Strahd, these creatures have been reimagined into fantasy, and they are quite often charming and cruel and perhaps a bit creepy and maybe a little bit sexy. But the idea that they've been around since Ravensloft was originally created really shows that they have a longevity within the game mechanic, and they are narrative dynamite. They either help a campaign or catapult it towards destruction, and they work across social combat and stealth encounters and are arguably one of the greatest challenges in the game. Of course, tied in to all of this is our movie culture, and Demogorgon originally was a demon lord supreme. Shoe heads, madness, aura, tentacles, what else could you possibly want in an abyssal, chaotic being? Now, they've been around since the days of Eldritch Wizardry, clear back in 1976, so they are still a threat today. And, of course, they've been drawn back to the public interest by being the face of Dungeons & Dragons through Netflix's TV series Stranger Things. Now, next is one of my favorites, and that is one of the smartest monsters in the game, the Lich. It's the ultimate planner, spellcaster, immortal foe, thinking about things beyond its exact existence. As a matter of fact, if you follow some of the phylactery quest lines you might be able to add, you build in a narrative hook, and how do you actually kill one of these damn things? Now, the most popular and most recognized villain of the Dungeons & Dragons franchise arguably would be Vecna, who is not only a lich, but a lich leaning towards deity, and now appearing in everything including Magic the Gathering. And by all accounts, the lich is therefore a perennial and arguably one of the most powerful threats in the game. Oop. Got ahead of myself. I spoiled it. I'm sorry. Next would be the Illithid, also known as the Mind Flayer. This is cosmic horror embodied. Tentacled face, psionics, brain eating. What else do you want? It's the greatest, arguably one of the greatest threats to your adventuring group to ever exist. And they are of a hive mind. They share their thoughts and their brains. Whole civilizations, plot lines can spring out literally from any given one of these. And so the danger that they represent is real and visceral. And they are also a trademark monster. They are one of the most protected and original creatures of the campaign world. Purely Gygaxian nightmare fuel. Well, as I just spoiled a moment ago, of course, this is the dragon, sitting in the number 2 position. And why it's iconic? Well, it's in the name. It's the second D in Dungeons and Dragons. Literally stands for these creatures. They are intelligent, magical, ancient, dangerous, curious. They are cunning foes, almost godlike in their nature, providing the skills and benefits of guardians and villains in the story. And color-coded in their nature is their danger. Chromatic being evil, metallic being good. The alignment spectrum shapes fantasy tropes and has for generations. And I can say that honestly, having been here and watched the process go along, it definitely has taken generations to perceive what might dragons become. And although we come to the bottom of the list, it's actually one of the most arguably iconic of the creatures of Dungeons and Dragons, and that is the Beholder. They are wholly original. They were invented entirely for the game. They're not from folklore, they're not from legends, just from the history of the Dungeons and Dragons franchise. The concept of the being having 10 eye rays, an anti-magic cone, and a paranoid mindset sets them up to be dangerous, fascinating, and fun. No two boulders are alike, and their very nature is spawned from nightmare fuel. And they are iconic for the brand because beholders' faces adorn source books, dice sets, merchandise, and the memories of virtually any player who has any time behind the game. Well, that's the list of the 10 that I have today. I want to thank you for your time being here, and I will see you in the next episode. If you want, let me know if you want to see in particular monsters or have me converse about the background of any one of these. I'd be glad to do that. In the meantime, make sure that you keep putting your dice to the table, and as my grandfather would say, go play.